The leaks have arrived for the newest chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's a whole mess and something that we didn't really think would happen, alongside many things that we actually did think they were going to happen. And one of them is Sukuna weaseling his way out somehow of the whole situation. That kind of makes sense because Yuta firing off a hollow purple wasn't going to be that strong either. So here's a quick recount of what happened. In this chapter we have the whole situation going on. The domain, the unlimited void domain thingy, totally dismantles, and we have the trio of Yuji, Todo, and Yuta ganging up on Sukuna that is pretty much badly hurt from what we can see. And as they are going to finish the job, suddenly we have Yuta dropping, and that's a huge sign of potential disaster that is probably coming our way. And it's of huge importance because it's not the 5 minutes limit thingy that we had for Yuta's ability and Rika fully manifested, but actually is because of the fact that Yuta can't maintain his CT after a domain expansion. And that begs the question, what was Kenny doing when he actually used his domain on Yuki? Because we do know that Kenny didn't actually get totally destroyed and he didn't lose his CT, because we actually know that Kenny's CT didn't burn out and he was actually able to continue doing what he was doing. So there is a trick here. There is some information that Yuta doesn't know. Yuta himself does say that hey, I thought I would be able to use Kenjaku's technique. And he says, was there some trick behind Kenjaku being able to use his technique immediately following a domain expansion? And this is the very important part. I didn't take any information like that in when I copied his technique. It's pretty much obvious that Kenjaku is hiding some stuff, and if Kenjaku is doing that, I do have a theory that probably, very probably, Kenny is going to make a comeback, and it's going to be fucking brutal because Kenny actually knows what's happening here. And Kenny actually realizes that hey, and Kenny probably realized what was going to happen. And that brings us to the same situation we are in right now. So food for thought, do take that into your mind and do remember the theory. We move forward and we have the gang that is now Yuji and Todo ganging up on him. Then we have Sukuna firing a black flash that shows that he's actually desperate, and he does something desperate too, and that's throwing up the fingers he had to consume them again for whatever the fuck that he's actually going to do. And we see Yuji at his best, actually throwing many punches on Sukuna's face, and it gets even better when we have Yuji do the dismantle on him, and doing it perfectly at the barrier between Sukuna and Megumi's soul. So the plan is to separate them and take back Megumi. Sukuna here reveals that Yuji has probably used a binding vow. He doesn't say probably, but we say it here, and is shocked that Yuji can use selectively the target of his technique. And the many dismantles that Yuji fires directly are dismantling the border between the barrier and the border between the souls of Sukuna and Megumi. Then comes a very interesting scene with Todo doing a swap with Yuji and Sukuna being ready for Yuji, but suddenly the swap doesn't happen and Yuji is just standing there. Yuji, who actually didn't show any kind of emotion towards the fact that they were using Gojo Sensei's corpse, let's say. And suddenly we have Angel up there being ready to use Jacob's ladder on Sukuna, and she actually does fire Jacob's ladder, and we don't get to see more than that. That's all we have with this chapter, and we have a break. It's pretty important to actually factor in the situation and the whole thing that hey, Hana, Kuruso and Angel, they did have a plan, and Yuta explains that no one is considering the fact that Sukuna, probably, the fact that Angel can come back, and Angel here fires it up, but we do have the whole situation with the fingers with Sukuna. We do have the situation that maybe Gojo's body could be stolen by Sukuna, or maybe even worse, Kenjaku could come back in Gojo's body, because for some reason Kenjaku didn't have the information, or let's say erase the information. It's impossible that he would have that from himself, even that how was he maintaining his CT even when he was doing domain expansions right after the domain expansion. I do think that they are going to recover Megumi Fushiguro, but I do think that at the same time Sukuna is going to take over Gojo, or maybe Kenjaku is going to come back and he's gonna do the merger and or make Sukuna do the merger, and it's gonna be a huge chaos in the whole scene. Yuta and Stans are going to fucking hate me for this, but it does seem like Kenny is going to make a comeback in Gojo's body, and I do have some proof for that. Look, we have the situation here that Yuta uses the domain expansion, Gojo's domain expansion, and then right after the domain is gone, he falls down face flat, and That's it. We do know that the 5 minutes is not even passed, so that's not the situation here. And we also know that Kenjaku did the same thing, but he didn't get into the same, let's say, run into the same problem as our friend Yuta here did, and you guys stand probably. So here's the thing. There must be some kind of information that is being hidden from Yuta, because Yuta even himself mentions that, hey, that wasn't in any of the information I got from Kenjaku. Here's what he actually says. I didn't take any information like that in when I copied his technique. So Kenjaku's CT, he was using it right after the domain expansion, and Yuta is not being able to use that here. That only means one thing. Kenjaku probably made, let's say, plans for this situation too. He actually thought that, hey, they would probably try to steal my CT and use it on Gojo if they are going to, on the possibility that they use Gojo in front of Sukuna. So for some reason, he hid that crucial piece of information. But here's the thing. If Kenjaku was able to see so far into the future and plan so far ahead, I do think we are going to see him either at the major or right now after Yuta gets cancelled or whatever. If the information is being hidden from Yuta purposefully, there must have been plans to this point. If there have been plans to this point from Kenny's side, a very masterful, skilled planner, let's say, there is bound to be more to that. I do believe that Kenny is probably coming back, even though I do believe that he got a very, very okay closure and that could be it for Kenny. But we don't have the major yet, and at the same time, if we are not going to have that, we have this little piece of information that I do not think that Gege is going to just suddenly let it go. Something to notice in the newest chapter, in the leaks that we got here. Sukuna is here right now, throwing up his fingers and swallowing them again. I did see many people saying that Yuji made him throw up the fingers. I'm a Yuji fan myself too, but I do not think that's the case here. It does seem like Sukuna is being cornered enough because as opposed to the things that many people are just spouting nonsense around, the aggregate of all that happened and all the lives given for actually took them to this situation and to this, let's say, position they are right now. And Sukuna being absolutely cornered in front of them, that he is actually having to use Black Flash. And here's the thing, it scares me to think what he was actually planning. Sukuna throwing up and consuming them again, or even maybe throwing them away or something, that he might even go after Gojo's body or someone else's body. It won't work as perfectly as other people. It could be just like Gojo's body reacting to him if he goes on that, but it does seem pretty significant in my opinion that Gege drew Sukuna throwing up and then swallowing them again. There is some very, very weird shit happening, and the Angel is not going to one-shot Sukuna. It's not going to be finished so easily. So we have to see what happens, but I am kind of leaning towards a situation in which he gets another body. Didn't really throw them up for no reason in my opinion. He just has them ready.